الصحار يسود عدوان وفي العهود واللي عادينا ما يعود اطبعنا من اجدادنا اذكروا مرضانا عطيب اقصاد
Taoiseach Martin, the Swedish Social Democrats hoped that the amnesty for migrants in 2005 would give us pause. The opposite happened. Pull factors increased. The following decade meant a migration wave we've never seen before. This year, one shooting a day, one bombing a week, in areas ruled by criminal gangs and clans caused Bildzeitung to name my country the most dangerous country in Europe. Now, I understand that your government is pushing through a mass amnesty. For how many, no one seems to know. Taoiseach, have you looked at migration prognosis for the future? Ipsos tells us that 1.5 billion people would like to migrate if given the opportunity. The French government estimates that 35 to 40% of those would choose to Europe. That's 500 million that would like to go to our continent if given the opportunity. The same as the whole EU population, Taoiseach. Africa's population is set to grow from 1.4 billion today to 4 billion at the end of this century, and there aren't enough jobs. Taoiseach Martin, do you think that mass amnesties for illegal migrants by EU member states is going to alleviate or worsen migration pressure on Europe? Thank you.
I was born on the Dublin street where the Lyle runs the beat, and the loving English feet walked all over us, and every single night when we danced
We have international obligations under international law. So there's a legal obligation on us. We are legally obliged under international law.
The state has a moral and legal obligation in line with our international obligations,
And we have international obligations.
Our international obligations.
People are eligible to seek international protection here. That is our legal obligation. Responding to our legal obligations.
We have a moral and legal obligation, and rightly so.
We have an international, a legal and a moral obligation, not just because it is our international obligation to do so.
The legal obligations that we have as a state, and we have a moral and legal obligation.
We have a legal and moral obligation.
We have international obligations.
And we've heard our international obligations and we've signed up to those, and nobody disputes that.
And there are international treaties under which we apply rules.
To its international protection obligations.
Ireland has international legal and moral obligations.
And we have international legal obligations.
We have a legal, moral and cultural obligation.
We are not meeting our international obligations. We are not meeting our international obligations.
To meet our international obligations, Ireland has not only an international legal obligation, but we also have a moral obligation.
And have to be processed and have legal obligations to do that. And again, we have international legal obligations. Our international obligations.
Rising to our moral obligations. Of course you have an obligation to afford international protection. We all know that.
You're coming what? Where are you from?
I'm from Kurdistan.
And what the fuck are you doing here?
I'm just coming to see niggas.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, everyone. Get the fuck out of here. I'm fucking telling you. Do you hear me? You about to get the fuck out of here now, I'm telling you.
I just come to see niggas.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Okay,
yeah, well see that? I'll fucking bounce that off your fucking head, the Hueys.
I didn't know that, my brother.
Yeah.
Again.
Where are you living?
I'm living in the city, number one.
Yeah, how long are you living here?
I was come from UK, living
when?
in 50. I come here.
Yeah, how long are you living here?
1.5 years.
Get the fuck out of it.
Sorry, my brother.
Get the fuck out of it, Hueys. I'm fucking... There's boys on the way now. Get the fuck out of it. Fucking sick of this fucking shit.
I won't do that.
Yeah, no, don't come around here. The Hueys, get the fuck out of this place.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you fucking know now. The fucking Hueys.
Never do it again.
See, you're begging.
I don't usually do this.
Where are you from?
From Cameroon.
And why are you begging the fingers?
I just came to get some change to go and give to them around.
And where are you living now?
In the city center, I have to go to the city center.
Where are you living, but?
On the street.
On the street? Where's your passport?
I just came here. I didn't have a passport. Just someone that brought me.
So you came to Ireland with no passport?
I came to someone to the Dublin airport.
With no passport?
With the paper that someone helped me to my follow.
So you came to Dublin with a paper?
Yes.
With no passport?
With a passport.
So where's your passport now?
Someone that helped me to call me because I don't know the place to stay and that's all.
So, like, where is your passport now?
I don't have a passport.
You've no passport?
Yeah.
So how are you staying in the country? How are you living? You've no money?
Yeah, I have no money for all the money.
So how did you get on a plane to fly to Ireland?
To Cameroon.
Yeah, but how?
To France.
To France?
Yes.
Yeah, but you've no passport, so how did you get on a plane?
It's my uncle that sent me here.
Your uncle?
He's one friend of mine. Cameroon.
Yeah, but you need a passport to get on a plane. So tell me, how did you get from France to Ireland with no passport?
Someone that brought me is my uncle.
Yeah, we know that, but you can't get on it. So your uncle has your passport? So your uncle's in Ireland?
It's a Cameroon, you went to Cameroon.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you were in France. You flew to Ireland. Yeah, but with ID. Picture ID, no?
It's my uncle that has it, just I remember the police station, that's why
So your uncle went home with your passport?
Yeah,